Pac-Man World Re-Pac is a remake of the 1999 title Pac-Man World, and was released for the current Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox systems, along with PC. That is, whatever you want to call the current gen system, or the next gen system, or the last gen system, really whatever you have, it's probably on that. The original title was well enough received when it came out, but over the years it's gotten lost in a sea of other 3D mascot platformers that also were released around that time period. To see a game like this release well after the genre's heyday creates a lot of questions. Who is this game for? Does the gameplay hold up? And what is Pac-Man's role in the larger gaming landscape? It's basically a 2D platformer, but with a bit of depth to it. You can think of it in the vein of Mario 3D World or Crash Bandicoot. So in a game like this, coming out so long after the character's debut, it really has the opportunity to be a celebration of the series' history. The problem is with Pac-Man, there's hardly any history to be found. There's the pellets, the ghosts, and that's pretty much it. Now, to take a look at a small example, let's look at the music. Can you think of any iconic songs from the Pac-Man franchise besides or yeah, I didn't think so. Compare this to a series like Sonic the Hedgehog, which has so many bangers across its history that you could almost fill up as many albums as Gucci Mane. And it's almost laughable when the game tries to make a reference back to Pac-Man's past. Consider something like Super Mario Odyssey, which is littered with references to some of Mario's other iconic adventures, like the original NES title, Mario 64, and even offshoots like Donkey Kong Country. This works because there's so much history to a series like Mario. So many great games, iconic characters, and memorable moments. Pac-Man World Re-Pac tries to do the same thing, but there's just one game for it to reference back to. The original Pac-Man. Maybe every once in a while there'll be a reference to another Namco title like Galaga or Dig Dug, but I think that shows how little they have to work with in terms of Pac-Man. The reason Mario Odyssey didn't have a bunch of references to Zelda, Metroid, or Kirby is because it didn't need to. It's got plenty of foundation without resorting to going to other franchises. But even with a lack of serious history, Pac-Man still has a huge level of fame to him and makes appearances all over the place. There's Super Smash Bros., where Pac-Man appears alongside many other gaming icons. But even in his moveset, the designers either had to make stuff up for him or pull from weird places. Like really, does anyone closely associate Pac-Man with fire hydrants? Like with Mario, who throws a fireball. Yeah, that makes sense, he's known for that. Link uses a sword, and a bow and arrow, and bombs. Yeah, he's known for all those things. Is Pac-Man known for fire hydrants? Plus, his stage is just bizarre. It's based off the 1984 arcade game Pac-Land, which if I had to guess, probably less than 1% of Smash Brothers have actually played that game. And even in Smash, he falls into the trap of referencing unrelated Namco games with his taunt. For most other Smash characters, they have so much history to pick from, the designers have to make sacrifices and leave a lot out. But with Pac-Man, you run out of reference material almost immediately. There's also a major lack of supporting characters throughout the series. You have the Ghosts and Miss Pac-Man, who has some sort of weird rights issue anyway, and aside from that, there's not really much else. But it's hard to justify having so many supporting characters in a game franchise where the protagonist has so little character himself. His design is very appealing, but also very bland, and it's lacking in many memorable details. Clearly, Namco wasn't fully satisfied with it because they redid him for the Ghostly Adventures, but that's a topic better left undiscussed. At least Pac-Man World 3 was an attempt to give him some personality by having him talk, even if it was...
Did someone say cake?
Weird. But that aspect of the game wasn't very well received, and Pac-Man has been silent ever since. I think it's a focus on the original Pac-Man game that hampers the potential growth of the series. It's like an adult trying to wear the clothes they wore as a child. The original Pac-Man game is ever present and is constantly being re-released. Here's some of the console games that include the original game. Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures, Pac-Man World, Pac-Man World 2, Pac-and-Roll, Pac-Man World 3, Pac-Man Party. Plus there's Miss Pac-Man Maze Madness, which has the original Miss Pac-Man, not to mention the game compilations like Pac-Man Collection, Pac-Man and Galaga Dimensions, Pac-Man Museum, all the Pac-Man mobile, PC, and arcade games, offshoots like Pac-Man 99, Pac-Man and Facebook Messenger, Pac-Man and Google. My god, the list doesn't end! We're so flooded with Pac-Man at every point of existence. Think about it. There will be no time in your life where you can say, I want to play Pac-Man now, but I have no way to play it. I'm pretty sure in the next few years, they're going to be releasing Pac-Man on gas pumps and dialysis machines. And when it's this much, just so much Pac-Man at all times, don't you kind of tune it out? The only way for your brain to be able to handle the onslaught of Pac-Man games at every corner is to numb yourself to it. You don't think about breathing, and you don't think about Pac-Man. At this point, Pac-Man doesn't even associate with video games in my mind. He's like his own category entirely. It's like how Mickey Mouse isn't a cartoon character, he's a brand. Every other iconic video game mascot has a massive fan base behind it. There's Mario fans, Pikachu fans, Crash Bandicoot fans, and even though a lot of them like me don't want to admit it, there's a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog fans. But Pac-Man? Who are the Pac-Man fans? I picture the kind of guys you see sitting at a sports bar alone at 4 p.m. on a Thursday. There's no vocal community around Pac-Man online, although maybe that's a good thing. When a new Pac-Man game is announced, there's never an uproar of excitement. It's always, oh hey, that looks neat, maybe I'll try it one day. Compare that to the announcement or release of a new Legend of Zelda game. When one of those comes out, it's like a cultural moment. Like, you're gonna tell your freaking grandkids about it. Pac-Man sits in this weird place in gaming where he's simultaneously iconic and mysterious. It's not that he doesn't deserve his place in the Hall of Gaming Gods, but it's actually impressive that he's there, despite only having one iconic game. Most other characters need to prove themselves again and again with great titles that sell well, but not Pac-Man. Though you might try to disturb him, he'll sit on his throne forever, always a giant of the gaming industry. Maybe one day we'll get a new game starring Pac-Man that's something entirely original, something that approaches how unique the first game was back in 1980. But until then, we'll just be running in circles around mazes, collecting dots, and trying to stay alive.